Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a match preview as Villa take on Celtic in a crucial game in the Champions League. Win and Villa have got a very real chance of top 8. Lose, it's not top 8, it's the playoffs, and it would be so Villa to finish 9th. I'm joined by my good friend Gregg Evans from The Athletic to preview the game, and we've got a very special guest with us as well. Who better to preview the game than ex-Aston Villa and ex-Celtic attacking midfielder Shaun Maloney. Shaun, now manager of Wigan. Shaun, how are you?
Very good, thanks. Appreciate the invite to come on.
No, we really appreciate having you on. I know you've done some work with Gregg before. Gregg was very keen to have you on. Gregg, you're a big fan of Shaun's, aren't you?
Yeah, really enjoyed spending time with Shaun when he was manager of Hibs for a little bit and also at Wigan. Followed his journey pretty excitedly and hope he kicks on in the future. And I suppose that's probably a good place for us to start, Shaun. I mean, results picking up a little bit for Wigan. How is it all there for you?
This season, probably, it's enjoyable. Definitely inconsistent. But considering where we probably were 18 months ago, it's going pretty well. I really enjoy it. Incredibly intense. Would love to win more this season, but we're doing okay. We've got a good group, for sure.
Shaun, I've been up in the loft this afternoon and gone and dug out the Shaun Maloney match-worn top behind me. What's your best memory of playing for Villa?
I've got a few. Do you know what? The full season that I spent there, I absolutely loved playing at the club. I had a really difficult first sort of 4 months. Highlights. I think I scored a really late winner against Fulham.
Remember it.
Yeah, but just other games. Even at that time, there were some brilliant players and teams that we got to play against. But I loved playing at home. The home games were probably stand out. When that stadium's going, it's a really good place to play.
Yeah, and Gregg, it'll be going on Wednesday night, won't it?
Yeah, I mean the atmosphere will be it'll be amazing, won't it? I think on Wednesday. I think partly because Celtic are coming, so they'll bring an amazing following as well, and they'll really get beyond the team. Shaun, I don't think you ever played a European game, did you, for Villa?
No. It was only domestic that season.
Yeah.
And the season before. No, I never got to doing a European game there. It was a year after. It was a year after. I think they'd finished 6th that year. But no, I'd imagine it'd be some atmosphere. I watched the Bayern game on TV and it looked like it was some atmosphere. I know the Celtic, the home support's amazing, but the away's just as passionate. And when it's England v Scotland club match, it adds more to it for sure. So that'll be some and a lot riding on it as well, with, as you said at the start, with Villa.
Yes. Sorry, Gregg, you go.
Yeah, I was just obviously you've got a big game first at Peterborough, Shaun, on Tuesday night. We're recording here on Monday, but will you get a chance to watch the Celtic Villa game on Wednesday?
Yeah, I'll get to watch it. We got our game Tuesday, so I'll watch the game on Wednesday. So it would be a brilliant game to watch. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, Celtic will be nicely rested as well. No game at the weekend. They know that they're in the playoffs now as well, but they probably won't take the foot off the gas, will they? Because of what you've mentioned, such a big game, Celtic coming to England and playing against Villa. It's still a lot riding on it. It's a grudge match, essentially.
Yeah, it's like it's England v Scotland. It's like these games. From my memory, there's definitely more on it. Obviously, look, the way, and it's both clubs, but when there is no games off, you have people that are travelling and paying to watch you play. You're in the Champions League. They'll be full at it. It's an amazing game to play in as a player. These types of games. So, it will be so intense, that match. Really intense. It should be a great game. Really should.
You've had some pretty special nights playing in the Champions League, Shaun, for Celtic. I mean, any sort of real standout memories for you? And when you look back, do you feel really blessed that you were able to play in that competition? Yeah,
massively. I think. I grew up. I remember the games when they were on ITV, so it was. I remember staying up for those games. Fell in love with this competition. Really, as that sort of youngster, so watching when it was like that Marseille team, when Man United seemed to always be on in these tournaments. I know the big rivals, but you had Rangers as well, and you had those big games. But in terms of with Celtic, it was and Villa's the same. The European Cup with winning it is such a huge tournament in each club's history. The home games of Celtic when you play their Champions League are like no atmosphere I've ever experienced before. Before I had it, and then since, it's something incredible when that Champions League music goes. I also got to sort of experience it when I was younger, coming through Martin O'Neill. That time we had an incredible team with Larson, Sutton, Lamberts, and the place was an absolute fortress. So my experience of these nights were we could beat absolutely anyone at home, and sometimes we did. We beat a brilliant Man United team, Benfica teams, Villarreal were a really good side. I watched and I felt and was part of. You feel you could beat anyone. The away form was literally the opposite, but generally these home games are some of the highlights I ever had as a football player. Yeah.
Did you used to notice a real major difference as a Celtic player when you were playing home and away? Because I know that that atmosphere at home is just second to none. But when you went away, was it just so much harder?
Yeah, it obviously. And as you kind of felt, even watching on TV, watching the Villa Bayern game, the Champions League, it doesn't just do it for Celtic and Villa; it does it for every club. So whenever we travelled, the atmosphere, however the size of the stadium, was always really intense for that home support. And I would say that the home atmosphere, because it is like nothing. I've been to Anfield on European nights; that's very close, but. It is that big an advantage at Celtic Park when you have that support. And yeah, it is definitely harder away from home. And the record of the club probably shows that. They've actually done pretty well this season, apart from the Dortmund game away from home. So, yeah, they're a vast difference. It's completely different, yeah.
It's quite a unique game because I know a few people who are Villa fans and Celtic fans, so they're going to this game essentially to watch both teams. But for those who haven't seen much of Celtic this season, I know there's got a couple of things up in the air at the moment with either suspensions or players being sold as well. Who are the danger men for Celtic? Who are the players that you like watching?
So obviously this season, I think just from an attacking point, you probably see the right winger Kuhn has really sort of became a really important player. And he's had some big performances in Europe. I know obviously they've just sold Kyogo, but I actually was still really impressed when I've watched him this year in the Champions League. So he'll be a big miss, a really big miss to the club. And I know you probably expect a really attacking player or maybe one of the younger ones, but I think probably I've seen a massive step up or from the captain. I think I've been a massive fan of Callum McGregor for a long time. I think it's been harder in Europe for Celtic for quite a while, and I'd probably say this season I've seen a massive sort of level up from Callum. I've seen him now really start to dominate European games, particularly the Leipzig game at home. So really the standout performer for me, I know Kuhn has probably grabbed the headlines and Kyogo, but I think Callum McGregor is now, even at the age of 31, has actually gone to another level. I've actually really enjoyed watching him play. He dictates the game, and he's done it in big games now. So probably Callum would be the one that Villa have to stop, yeah.
You just kind of mentioned there that there's been a shift in Celtic in Europe this season compared to the last few years. What is it that specifically changed that's made it not easier, but means they've competed a little bit more? Is it the fact that Brendan Rodgers is there? Is it the new format? Has that helped in some way, giving them a little bit more of a chance of qualifying?
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. I think I watched them under Ange. Sorry, what was that?
Easier fixtures.
Yeah, maybe. Do you know what? There is like Leipzig at home is still a really difficult game. I think.
True.
I think with the group stages that they've always had to get past two sort of major clubs, which has been really, really difficult and almost impossible at times. Yeah, I think the format's definitely helped. I think they had a really difficult result early on against Dortmund, like really difficult. But it wasn't. It was actually quite a unique game. It was like every chance Dortmund had, they literally scored. And then they've had other games where they've actually shown a big resilience. They went away to Atalanta, sorry. and then managed to get a clean sheet. It wasn't loads of difference between the two games. It was probably in that first half, Dortmund, just everything they hit, they went in. But there's definitely been more of a resilience away from home than what's probably been seen the last few years, and definitely the format. Look, the format does help, but they still have to beat Leipzig at home, a really big club, and the performance that night was as good as anything I'd seen for quite a few years.
Yeah, they were excellent. I remember watching that game, really enjoyed it. And I mean, I almost think the point away at Atalanta was more impressive because of how well they've done this year themselves and how attacking they are. But I was a bit sceptical, Shaun, of the new format. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did, but as the stages have gone on, I feel like I've grown into it more. And we're actually leading into a final match day with loads of jeopardy still on a lot of the teams, and I think that's really fun. It feels like it has actually worked, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think. I think that's probably the biggest plus point is that actually we come to this final game, and there is so much riding on it. I think there has been moments like that, obviously in the past, but I think there's just more of them now. So I think that's been a big plus point to this format. There's still parts of the old format I loved, even going back when it was literally every league winner. But I think the golf and finances now make that almost impossible. But yeah, I've actually enjoyed this. There's been so many different fixtures as well. It's it's actually it does feel like a positive change. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, really impressive from Villa. They've got the chance if they beat Celtic and results go their way to finish in the top 8, which for their first sort of appearance for a very long time in Europeans elite competition, it's amazing. I mean, as manager to manager, looking at what Unai Emery has done, I presume you must be really impressed with him. And are you quite intrigued as to how he's done it as well?
Yeah, I got to watch him last year. We were playing United in the FA Cup, and I got to watch United v Villa. Villa actually lost that game really late on, but what he's done he's done an unbelievable job. Last season was just to get into the Champions League was such a big jump in such a short period of time. I'd probably say this season is probably more impressive because he's had to, and they're still fighting for the Champions League place in the league, obviously, and they're performing in Europe. I think we've seen other clubs that have found that really hard, and for them to be on the verge or have a possibility of making that top 8 is a brilliant achievement. So he's done an amazing job. The way that they play is really impressive to watch. How they defend, they do very similar things attacking wise, but it's so difficult to stop. I know a couple of their players. They've got really good people. The job he's done there so far has been it's been remarkable. Yeah,
he's one of the players John McGinn, by any chance? Because I was just going to ask you about him.
Yeah, I played with John a while ago now, when he was first sort of breaking through into the Scotland team.
You played with him, sure, now, right?
It was a while ago. Yeah,
ago?
Which probably tells you he started really young, and I was still sort of clinging on at that point. Just a brilliant attitude, brilliant mentality, talented, just incredibly strong. Just seems to produce big moments as well. I was really lucky to work with Tielemans for a period of time at Belgium.
Oh yeah,
and just an amazing guy, and the same, just unbelievably professional. They've got. It looks like they've got some. I know obviously the way they play tactically and things, but it looks like they've got some really good people. And I absolutely love the goalkeeper. He's just an elite player. Produces big moments. So they've got a hell of a team.
Yeah, just on John McGinn quickly. Obviously, he's a Celtic fan, so this game will be huge for him. He's been out injured, but he's timed his return, so he came on as a sub yesterday against West Ham. So I would expect him to start this one. I guess there would be some regrets from Celtic side actually that they haven't got him, because when he went to Villa, he very nearly could have gone to Celtic, but unfortunately for Celtic, he chose Villa at that point.
Yeah. I think there's you heard a few things around that, where how close Celtic got to matching the fee. I think Villa were in the Championship as well at the time, weren't they? So
I think Rodgers was at Celtic at that point as well, I think.
First time round. Actually, you're right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So you hear a few things about how close that got, but Yeah, it would have been amazing if he'd been a Celtic player, but Villa got him. And in fairness, he went there, as we just said, in the Championship, and didn't just make the step to the Premier League. He sort of took it by storm at the start, and he's done the same with the national team. He's like a main player for Scotland. So it's a shame he's not in the Celtics team, but he's been a brilliant player for Villa. I think should be really proud of what he's done so far.
There's one sort of issue at Villa at the moment, which you'll probably laugh at, because as a manager, I'm sure you would love this problem, but it seems to be a problem now for Aston Villa and Unai Emery that he can't really decide whether it's Ollie Watkins or John Duran up front. Now, I'm sure as a manager, you would love those two strikers to work with, but my suggestion was, rather than doing 60 and 30, is to commit with the one striker. If he gets to 80 minutes or 85 minutes and you need a change, then fair enough. But I think Ollie Watkins is a player that needs to know that he's going to have the majority of the game there, because a lot of his goals come when it's late on in the games. Defenders are starting to get a little bit tired. And I just think there are players that need to know that they're the man. And I think Ollie Watkins is one of those. And I think if he doesn't score in a game, then he doesn't play the next game. But I think it's too soon to keep bringing him off after 60, 62 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll be Duran against Celtic.
I'm not a manager.
No. There's no right or wrong. I don't think. I think there's no right or wrong answer there. I think it's every game is different. I also heard that you said that there's different opponents. So like this one striker might suit another.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's you say you commit, and then maybe one's having a lesser game than normal, or the levels are slightly lower. Yeah, there's no right or wrong. I think I'm sure Emery will get a feel on certain days or certain matches, but it's that's a hard part. I think, trying to keep two happy, because you don't want to lose one, because the reality is you have to go and replace them, because you need a minimum of two. Minimum.
Who's the if you had to who would you prefer to face as a manager? I suppose that there's no right answer here either. Who would you prefer to face, or who do you think was the trickiest to come up against of the two?
No, it's. I think it depends on your defenders as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it's. I've seen more of Watkins, and maybe it's that might bias me slightly. I know Duran's really talented and younger player, but I love Watkins. I loved him. I loved what he's done. But yeah, I haven't maybe seen enough of Duran to say I would pick one or the other at the moment.
Going to put you in a slightly different scenario, Shaun. If you were the manager of Celtic tomorrow, going there, what would you do? How would you set them up?
You'd have to. You need to give me a bit more time on this.
Did a game plan
on the spot here, mate.
In terms of just the mentality, or I don't think you can go any other way apart from really aggressive. What I've watched of Villa and live is that if you allow them to build up and give them a free man in their own half when they're building up, they'll find them, and you'll spend large parts of the game without the ball. So I would go toe to toe. You'd have to find a way of doing that, which I'm sure Brendan has done over the last few days. But go toe to toe. I think they've done brilliantly well to get to the next stage of the Champions League. And Villa are they're a Premier League team, so this would be a huge scalp. So they've got really good players, Celtic. Go toe for toe. And see if you can come out better by the end of it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Shaun, every time I've spent time with you at your various clubs, I've always just been so struck by your work ethic. You know, you work so hard, so long. Are you still working those ridiculously long hours with very little downtime? Or have you managed to find a way to manage it a bit better yet?
Trying. Two young kids definitely challenge that. But I got to work hard. You're speaking about Emery here and Brendan, and imagine they didn't get to that level just by being given it. So, working really hard and trying to win more games and see what I can do with Wigan. Enjoying it.
Well, you're still in the FA Cup, so
we've done
FA
okay.
Cup means a lot to you, as obviously many people know.
Yeah, no, yeah, it means a lot, and do you know what? It means a lot to the club now, and for different parts, maybe less football reasons. So, yeah, no, I'm really chuffed that we get another Premier League club. So, let's see if we can beat them. Yeah.
Well, Shaun, after a long day, the last thing you probably wanted was to jump on a podcast with Gregg and me. So thanks ever so much for previewing the game for us. Like I said, couldn't have had anyone better on with the Villa and Celtic connection. So we wish you all the best for the rest of the season, unless you draw Villa in the FA Cup. But got a quick prediction for us for the Champions League game? Got a quick prediction?
2-2.
2-2. I thought you might go with a draw.
Yeah.
Gregg, thank you to you as well for hopping on and for organising this as well, because it was you that organised it. So yeah, been a pleasure to talk to Shaun, hasn't it?
Brilliant.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Shaun. Yeah, thanks so much for jumping on, and I'm sure our listeners will really enjoy listening.
No, yeah. Good man. All right, thanks, guys.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Shaun. Cheers. Bye, mate. Hey, Gregg, a treat for us there, wasn't it?
Yeah. As I say, I've done plenty of work with Shaun in the past. Spent a little bit of time when he was the Hibernian manager. He gave me sort of the access to all the training and inside some of the team meetings, and that was a real eye opener for me. And I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I've followed his journey since. And yeah, I always got a little soft spot for Wigan now, because I hope they do well for him. But yeah, I hope all our listeners enjoyed hearing some of his memories from Villa and getting his insight on football, because he knows a lot more about the game than we do.
And I guess the question on everyone who's watched or listened to this lips will be, Gregg, have you ever played golf with Shaun Maloney?
I forgot to ask him. He's a member at Loch Lomond. I need to get that sorted.
Have you not played with him yet?
No. Our sort of work schedules have never allowed us to, really. But he's a member at a fantastic golf club up in Scotland, Loch Lomond, and if he can ever get me on there, I will be booking a day off work as quickly as I can.
Well, I mean, not often you are at work, Gregg. In fairness, big days off for you. Always on the days off. Always on holiday. Always global, Gregg. That's where you got the nickname from.
Get 25 days a year, so I use
true. Yeah, that's true. Anything else you think me and you should talk about ahead of the Celtic game, or do you think we've covered it all?
No, I think we covered obviously the draw with West Ham. In our last podcast, I think we've covered most of that at the Celtic game. Now, I'd like to see Villa going. Like Shaun said there for Celtic, going really aggressive. I'd like to see Villa go really aggressive, because I think the second half of the West Ham game has left a few people disappointed. So that they almost need to sort of have a bit of a reaction, really, and just give support something to cheer about again. So. Yeah, if they can start as well as they did against West Ham, then hopefully they can see it out.
Yeah, I mean, God knows who'll be playing centre back. God knows who. I think it might be Duran for this one. Do you think so? No, no. So I mean, he's got a chance. He's 6 foot plus, isn't he? You might as well throw his hat into the ring if he wants to get in the team. But I think Duran will start as the number 9 in this one.
Yeah,
he's been the Champions League go-to guy a bit more than Watkins. It feels like to me.
I think so, but yeah, I mean, as I say, that's not Villa's biggest concern. They can play either of them up there. It's who they go with at centre back now. Do you put Bogard or Swinkles if he is fit? I need to check that in, or Luca Dean again, or Kamara.
Yeah, I think I'd go Berber and put McGinn in the middle with Tielemans. In all honesty, I think that's what I'd do. And then you've still got that balance on as McGinn's playing kind of left number 6. You've still got that left footer there, which might help with the build-up. I wouldn't want to say what they did against West Ham again. That just simply didn't work, and I don't think it'll work. Luca Dean could probably do a job as a centre-back in a back 3, but as a 2, I'm just not sure about that from what I saw against West Ham.
I can't see that either, to be honest. And look, we'd expect McGinn to play. It'd be a massive one for him. He'll be desperate to play, won't he? So
yeah, he'll play. McGinn will play, especially when you bear in mind he missed that big Bayern game at the start of the Champions League journey as well. McGinn will be in for this one, I'm almost certain. Right then, Gregg, thank you ever so much for being with me today, and thank you for organising that with Shaun as well. Like you said, I'm sure that the listeners and the viewers will really, really appreciate it. Do go back and watch Monday's podcast that Gregg and I did, looking back on the West Ham match. And whether you're taking this podcast in via video or audio, do all the things that I go on about every single week, including liking, subscribing with post notifications on, leaving reviews. We've had some really nice reviews actually on Apple Podcasts, so really, really appreciate that. And keep your eye on our social channels so you know when the videos/audio podcasts are out. Be back on Thursday morning, I suspect, with a look back on the Celtic game. please, God, can Villa finish in the top 8? I don't want to be going through the playoffs, and I don't want Villa to finish 9th either. It would be the most Villa thing ever to finish 9th, at just outside the top 8 and have to go through the playoffs. So thanks for all the support on the channel. Have a good day, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you at Villa Park on Wednesday. And as always, a big fat